What is up, everyone? So I just want to quickly show you a trade that I made before. I've actually been watching this since this morning. So if I zoom out to the 4-hour chart, um, you can sort of see the formation that was happening now. Recently, I've changed my strategy. I now don't focus as much on patterns. I do use them, but I mean, yeah, as you can see, sort of we're forming this like bullish pennant type pattern. I'll go to a smaller time frame, and you can see that yes, we formed this bullish pennant. We actually broke down out of it twice, so we broke resistance support twice. Now you could probably readjust this, but it looks messy. I tend not to focus on actual chart patterns. Now, one that's been reliable for me is the falling wedge, but which, for those of you who don't know, the falling wedge pattern is simply when price is going like this. So when price is bouncing around like that, and then once price gets to there, we can expect price generally to shoot up. Now I went like in this sort of pattern, and I'm just giving you guys a quick example. In this sort of pattern, I actually will not make an entry. I'll make a short entry once we break resistance, but I actually won't buy until we break above this sort of this high here. So that's just a quick tip, but let's get back to EOS BTC. Now, I took a very conservative position on this trade. As you can see in the 15-minute, we broke above. I was waiting for a break above here. So as I said, I only trade when enter positions when we break above previous highs. Now, as you can see, I've highlighted the previous highs where we sort of wicked out with this red rectangle type tool. And as you can see, we broke above here. This 15-minute candle broke above and held. And I actually didn't make an entry. So this topped out at 9355. I actually didn't make an entry until 9452, I believe. And the reason is because if I zoom out to a 30-minute chart, I was using the 30-minute chart as a confirmation. So obviously the 15-minute, if I go back to that, the 15-minute chart, every previous 15-minute candle, apart from this one, had wicked out. So we had a wick here, we had a wick here, we had a wick here, we had a wick here. They all wicked out, and then I saw this as a semi-confirmation, but I didn't quite make my entry until I saw a 30-minute also close above. And the reason I did that was because every other time on the 30-minute chart, we'd seen a wick above, break back down, a wick above, break back down, wick above, break down, wick, and a wick. All these fake out zones. So because of that, I did make my entry until this region here, and then I timed that. If I go back down to a 15-minute chart, I told myself that I'll write it up to previous highs, which was there. So when I entered at 9 here, I told myself, okay, I'll run it up to about a 1.3%. Now I think I made about 1% on BTC as well. That ran up a little bit, but I did end up selling at around the 9.6. I think it was 5.2 region. So I came up with like a nice, I think it was 2.38%. So about there. So a nice little 2.38% push. I did see it break down, but the reason I did stay in was because I was starting to count these impulse waves up. Did take pretty conservative position pulling out, but I thought always looking profits. So that's that for me. A nice little 3% or 2.5% position on EOS, and overall the market's looking pretty healthy today. So something interesting that I'll draw your attention to is actually if we go to NEO USD on the 1-day chart, NEO is actually creeping up to a very, very big resistance zone. Now, you can see here that for the past about 60 days, NEO hasn't been able to break above this resistance. In fact, we've had 2, or at least 4 days sort of wick around this region, but here we're starting to make higher highs. So If I go down to a 4-hour chart, and if I go zoom back out to a 1 day, we're starting to cross above, what's that, the 50 and the 100. Yeah, the 50 and the 100 moving averages. If I go into a 4-hour chart, you can see that we're starting to create these higher highs. Obviously earlier today, this is why I don't like chart patterns too much, and I only ever wait for breaks above previous highs, because we did form this sort of what looked like either an ascending triangle or a rising wedge. Now, a rising wedge would explain why we did top out there and we fell. Now, yeah, okay, so that perfectly explains why we fell, because that was a rising wedge. But you can see that we've fallen back to this previous sort of support zone here, around here, bounced up, and now we are fighting resistance at this level here. So if I zoom in a lot closer, you can see that currently where we're topping out and having two 15-minute wicks, and on the 30-minute chart, what's that look like? Probably, yeah, 2 wicks. It's because this resistance zone has been very hard to fight, and that's why when we broke this candle, we fell straight through, right? So on the 30-minute chart, at least, we're sitting above the 50 and 100 moving averages. I would wait for a break above here and consolidation above this point, like we had here. But then for proper confirmation, I would be also waiting for a break above here. And if you wanted to, you could probably ride this up to resistance for a 2.72% profit. If I zoom out, let's look at previous resistance zones. So it looks like actually we haven't had these previous resistance zones around here. So you probably could ride that out. But the thing I'm looking at is once we break, and if we do, this red zone here. Now, this isn't a bullish signal yet, but there's a lot of room to run between here and the $16 mark. Now, I'm not saying that it will, and if you wanted to, you could probably, we don't want that. You could probably use your fib retracement tool, look at our previous high, and then bring it back down to the low and say that after we break, if we do, that our first points of resistance are obviously going to be the 302, the 0.5 zone. But from there, clear breaks above those would take us to maybe this zone here in the 618. And from there, 30% profit. Now, I wouldn't play on this move, and I'd take it day by day, but definitely something to watch and keep an eye out for. So I hope you had a good day trading. If you did lock in some profits, drop them down below. But yeah, I'll keep you guys informed.